Hey guys, Alexis here. In this video, I'm going to walk you through setting up Burp with an Android device or emulator so that you can intercept Android app network traffic. That being said, let's do it. First things first, anything you need for this tutorial, any tools, commands that might be useful to copy paste, and general explanation of everything that I'm also going to be explaining on this video is on a written tutorial at alexisegf.com that is linked down below in the description. I highly recommend you go ahead and open that link in order to follow along as well. Now we can actually go ahead and start, and there's only two things you're going to need, which is a rooted Android device or emulator with USB debugging enabled and Burp Suite. So if we go ahead and open Burp Suite, we can go ahead and do step number one, which is to export our Burp certificate so that we can then transform it to the correct format, and Android trusts it as a system certificate. So in Burp, go to Proxy, Options, Import Export CA Certificate, check the certificate in their format box, click Next, and select a location. I'm going to save mine in the desktop as cert.dir. Click Next, and there we go. We get the certificate. We can now go ahead and minimize this since we don't need it right now. And now we can actually move on to transforming the certificate to the format that Android expects. In order to do this, we're going to be running a couple of OpenSSL commands that, again, you can find in the written tutorial linked down below. And yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. Although first I need to navigate to the desktop, which is where the certificate is. And now we can copy paste the first command, which is basically taking a their format certificate from our cert.dir file and generating a PEM format certificate. We run that, and that's exactly what happens. And now we can run our second command, which has a different purpose. This is basically going to run OpenSSL, taking a PEM format certificate, so the one we just generated, but run the tool in the subject #old mode, taking our certificate and generating a file from which the first line is the hash of the certificate itself, and we're just going to go ahead and print that hash since we're going to need it for our last step, which is just to rename the certificate with the naming convention that Android expects. So we got the hash, and now now we can actually just rename the file as the value of the hash .0. I'm not sure why that is the naming convention that Android stores its certificates as, but that's what it is. And now that we got that, we can basically get rid of this one since we're no longer going to need it, and go ahead and start our Android emulator since I am using an emulator. But the following steps should be about the same even if you're using a physical device. So I'm going to go ahead and use this emulator, and we need to run start our emulator in the with the writable system option, which basically will let us run ADB remount so that the system partition becomes writable, since we are going to be writing our our certificate in the PEM format to a folder in the system partition. So let's go ahead and launch our emulator. And before actually writing our certificate to the emulator, we can show how, if we actually configure the emulator to try to use our proxy, it is not going to work. And actually, before doing that, if you're on a physical device, the way to configure your device to work with a proxy is to go to the Wi-Fi settings and in advanced options, set your proxy IP and port here. But since we are on an emulator, Android, basically this option is not available to us and we need to use the emulator's proxy settings. The way to do this is to click here in the emulator options button, then settings, proxy, and yeah, I basically already have mine pre-configured, which is why you might have seen some weird errors, although it's not using the correct port number right now. So for our host name, since we are on the same machine, we're just using the local host IP, which is always 127.0.0.1, and we need to change this to what Burp uses by default, although you can also just change Burp to use whatever you want and then change this to be whatever you set Burp to. We can click apply and this is off. Now if we go to Google Chrome, if we navigate to alexisegf.com, we get this "your connection is not private" error, which, as you can see from this error, basically is saying it doesn't trust the certificate or authority, or basically it doesn't trust Burp certificate. And over here we actually get a bunch of errors, basically saying that even when trying to connect to alexisegf.com, basically saying that it doesn't recognize the certificate that the network traffic is signed with. So in order to do this, we're just going to go ahead and push the certificate we previously generated into Android as a system level certificate, meaning that we're going to transfer it to the folder where all the default Android certificates are stored, so that Android thinks that it is a default system certificate. In order to do this, also not that complicated, there's just a few commands that we can copy paste basically, although before that we do need to run to remount Android, and first you need to do adb root to make sure that adb is running in root mode, and then you can do adb remount. There we go, remount succeeded, and now finally we can push our certificate. With the following commands. If it's not obvious from the command itself, this is just pushing the certificate we generated into system etc security certs folder. And that's it. Now our proxy should be ready and should be able to intercept traffic. So again, if we go to Chrome, alexisegf.com, 200 OK, and the site loaded. That's it. You got your proxy configured and can now perform pen testing or analyze whatever you were analyzing. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was useful. Let me know in the comments if you had any issues, and I'll try to help you out. Or if you found this useful also, make sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you guys next time.